Hi, this is Terry Samuel from PMML. Today I want to talk to you about the market statistics for the province of Quebec, multifamily, for the month of May 2024. So once again, a solid market in the province of Quebec. We're seeing transactions taking place. First of all, the quantity of transactions is extremely high. The quantity of accepted offers is a record high here at PMML. Of course, I'm giving you the statistics of the month of May, but we're in the month of June right now. We've compiled the statistics of the month of May, and I can tell you that the quantity of accepted offers is at a record level here at PMML. The month before, I told you we were at a record level also, and the month before that also. So the records are being broken every month here for the past 3 months. A strong market, strong fundamentals, and we're seeing institutional players come back on the market with or without surprise for certain people. So an extreme amount of transactions. I'm going to start, go straight to the point here. We have 10 major transactions. Usually I talk about different cities across the province, different urban areas, but today I'm only going to be talking to you about Montreal. Why? Because we're seeing a strong variation in price per door for interesting assets. And I'm just going to talk to you about the 10 largest transactions, or the most important ones at least, but we're not going to go into detail with the rest of the province, not this month anyway, but maybe next month. So let's start out with a purchase that was done at close to $94 million at $500,000 per door. The buyer is Aquilius, and Aquilius is back on the market. And Aquilius has always been a player that's been two or three steps forward compared to the rest of the market. And they've all had a large confidence in the market of Montreal. This asset was sold from the promoter directly to Aquilius, and the construction of this building is 2003. For those who know Montreal, it's located directly on the Lachine Canal, right next to the Atwater Market. So you have that lifestyle, and close to the Atwater Market, of course, you have all of the restaurants, the bars. You could walk on the side of the Lachine Canal all the way, or walk or bike or jog right into Old Port, the Old Montreal here, and come up here where we are into the city. Everything can be done by a short walking, running, biking, Bixi, public transportation distance. So it's really interesting to see that this asset was purchased at $500,000 per door for a 2003 asset. Really interesting. 187 units. Lifestyle, location, quality of construction, quality of the tenant base is extreme. There's been a large popularity for downtown Montreal, but now there's also a large popularity that's coming back into play for the older part of Montreal, the Lachine Canal. We have several major constructions that are taking place right now that are lifting the rent values in the area, even if in downtown Montreal the vacancy rate is quite high now for concrete assets with smaller units. So people are looking for lifestyle, and they're looking for quality of life, and they're looking for that leisure activity time that they could have by just walking out of their unit along the boardwalk, which is next to the canal. There's different beaches also, the beach areas. You could walk into the Old Port of Montreal. Really interesting asset. And this institutional player that's coming back into the market, is it going to be the first of several institutional player acquisitions? Are they back on the market? Maybe so. Let's go to our second largest transaction. NDG, the western part of Montreal. Interesting asset, 153 units, 1966 construction this time. And the average price per door is $209,000. So now we have several transactions taking place in the $200,000 and above range in Montreal, which is kind of lifting the comparable base and permitting maybe a little bit more room to increase pricing depending on the quality of the assets and the location of units that are going to be sold over time, apartment buildings that are going to be sold over time. So that transaction, concrete transaction, $32 million worth Interesting. Let's go into Rosemont. Rosemont, next to the subway station, good location also. A nice quality of life in Rosemont, a lot of families in that area. 1959 construction this time, 51 units. And this one went to close to $225,000 per door. So basically a transaction around 11 million and a half, which is really representative right now, I think, of the Rosemont market. And you know, we have to consider the fact that we've had record transactions breaking the prices per door across time, and the quantity of those transactions are increasing quite rapidly, making that the database of comparables is increasing also in value. So we should be seeing sustained value over time. We have been seeing it for the first quarter of 2024. I told you that we would be talking mostly of Montreal, but let's go outside of Montreal for this one in Bromont. Bromont is going towards the Eastern Townships. For those who know Montreal, you could take the New Champlain Bridge and go south, and that's where you'll find all of the cottages of a lot of the population in Montreal. A good quality of life. Bromont is a skiing mountain. It's also a great place to hike. These two buildings that were sold in the package were built in 2020 on Natural Boulevard. Natural Boulevard says it in the nature. Beautiful quality of life, and a lot of people are thinking of, of moving outside of Montreal, but of renting. And here we have 30 units that were sold at a cap rate below 3.5 per door, at a price of about $293,000 per door. Now, the buyer that bought this, although was buying a compressed cap rate, knew one thing, is that when you have such an exceptional product in such an exceptional natural location and a modern product, and you want to rebuild something of that same quality, you're going to be paying about $350,000 to $375,000 per door. And here it was just a reflex to say, okay, I'll buy this on the mid to long term, and I'll be able to capitalize eventually a little bit better compared to what I'm doing right now on my mortgage in a few years from now, but I'll be able to continue increasing that rent and attracting the best quality tenants, and then finally find myself in a situation where the interest rates are way better and be able to pick up on the value of my asset over time. So that's a natural way of thinking right now, and that's where we have to go. Let's go back to Montreal. Montreal North, historically a little bit more rough area, but that's been mostly bought out in the past 2 years by a lot of investors that are increasing the quality of the tenants that are in that area and also doing renovations. A lot of 8-plexes and 16-plexes and multiples of 8-plexes in that area. And now we have a 1974 asset, 48 doors, that was sold by a family that's been in real estate for a very long time. And they sold it for $160,000 per door. And that shows how much that area is sustaining in value, and that the average price per door has increased over time in the past 2 years, about $50,000 per door for the same asset, with revenues a little higher than before, but not that much in a context where interest rates are high. So interesting to see that there's a lot of activity. And don't forget, if you're trying to buy a building on the island of Montreal, and you're trying to buy an asset over 40 doors, they're not that available. I mean, people hold on to these assets over time, even though I'm seeing a lot of sellers are contacting me to sell these assets on the market. But still, if we're looking at the quantity available versus the quantity of buyers on the market, it's a rare product. And if you have a rare product over time, you'll be able to sustain a higher price per door, even if you don't have great performance on your rents. So this is a good example here of what's going on. Let's go into Repentigny. Repentigny is not on the island of Montreal, but it's immediately east of the island of Montreal. You go off the island of Montreal, you go into Charlemagne-Repentigny area. And here we have a 47-unit, 1976 construction, went for $131,000 per door. The buyer is a buyer that's been in the market for quite a while, chooses very carefully the assets that he purchases, and probably did a profound market verification before buying this asset that he bought at about 4.2 cap. with 40% expenses. So imagine, that means that there's probably hot water paid by the owner, or maybe heating paid by the owner. And the question that any buyer has to ask himself today is, if I have a conversion project, if I buy a building and I have the energy costs paid by the owner, do I want to do that conversion in 2024, or is it not worth it? Maybe it's not worth it. A lot of tenants like to have one bill now these days and not have to pay a hydro bill and not have to take care of heating and not have to take care of internet. If you could offer that package is now popular once again. And it's been popular for the last year. So before paying all of that money to do your conversion, it could be an interesting way of doing it because you could increase the value of your asset quite a bit. The question has to be asked here, can I optimize my existing system? Can I add thermal pumps maybe in the units if the electricity are paid by the tenants? Can I optimize everything that makes, can I optimize my existing heating system? Do I need to convert the whole building, or could I convert only part of the building? Is changing my windows making more sense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So ask yourself those questions before paying for a conversion. Let's go into Longueuil. We're staying in the GMA. 1977 construction. Longueuil, very popular, South Shore of Montreal. Okay tenant base. You have a mix of all kinds of people. It's a large territory, so you have high-paying tenants, you have low-paying tenants, you have social housing, you have affordable housing, you have a mix of everything there. You have maintained units, non-maintained units. A big territory, so you're going to have a mix of everything, right? $163,000 per door on Adaucourt. And Adaucourt, that area, although this being a 1977 asset, most of that area was built between 1980 and 2000, basically. Let's go towards Côte des Neiges, very popular area west of Montreal, near the Carrie Boulevard, close to the universities. 32 units, went for $156,000 per door on mountain sites. Mountain site says it, a good site on the mountain, but very well located, basically, close to the mountain, basically. And here we have a cap rate, which is at the low threes with an expense ratio of 46%. So once again, now that the ratio is 46%, maybe you want to think about optimizing it because it's almost 50% of your expenses. But that could also mean that the rents are very, very low. So once again, $156,000 per door, maintaining a nice rise and stability in the increases of prices per door in Montreal. Let's go towards Bellechasse, the Rosemont area. We talked about Rosemont area a little bit earlier today. 27 units sold for $170,000 per door. $4.6 million, an asset which is really interesting because although it's 1965 construction, it's very well located in an area which is picking up in grade and tenant grade right now. Finally, let's finish with Saint-Michel, which is close to Rosemont, 9th Avenue, almost next to the expressway, basically, so an increased noise, increased traffic, and this one went for $139,000 per door. So interesting to see that even in an area where that is a little bit less interesting and that has a little bit more traffic and noise, and it makes sense still to buy. Not too far from subway systems, which are from the subway system, the Blue Line. With the expansion of the Blue Line, there's a lot of attention right now in the northern part of Montreal. So that sums things up. So a market which is performing right now greatly, a record number of transactions, interest rates that want to compress. Of course, at the time that these transactions were done, we didn't have the regulation change for the capital gain. It was coming though. We did not have the new regulation of the CHMC restricting the affordable, the MLI Select affordable, not the affordable, the energy efficiency side of the program. People knew that that was coming, so those two factors encourage these transactions? More than likely, but still, values are sustained. It's going to be a very busy summer here at PMML, and I'll be available to answer all of your questions, either by email or by phone, as usual. Don't be shy. People just call me up to get information on the market. I can give you what you need. And it's going to be a pleasure for me to answer those questions. All of our opportunities are on pmml.ca. And I'll see you next month for the next market report. I wish you a great opportunity if ever you're a buyer, and if you're a seller, it's a great time to put your asset on the market. Take great care. We'll speak next month.